The other thing, of course, which is interesting about your story, and there are not that many examples of that either, is someone who moved to India in 2011 and has been around for so many years.
I'm like, hi, I'm still here.
Yeah, no, I mean, not too many people make that move, firstly, right?
Yeah.
And second, were you even familiar with Bollywood? Another person I can think of is probably Katrina Kaif, right? I mean, she'd seen her first Bollywood movie in 2001, Ahsoka, and in 2 years' time she was here. She worked in Boom, and that's it, boom, she's like a Bollywood star. Did you ever grow up in Hindi cinema? Did you watch films when you were growing up?
Yeah, I watched films growing up. Yeah,
yeah, like you had your favorite stars and you had your
well,
favorite
I don't
movies?
know about like favorite stars.
Okay.
So, where we were, my parents would go rent like, VHS tape, some Bollywood film.
From a Patel store or somewhere.
And, yeah, I don't know where they would get. They would rent like 2 or 3 of them. It would be on the weekend. And my parents would put the movie in. We'd clear the living room, order pizza, sat and watched. My parents, of course, I don't think my dad was so much into the songs. So they would fast forward through those. So we weren't either because we were listening to mainly like Punjabi music growing up, Bhangra music growing up, and we'd watch the film, and so I understood most of what they were saying because Punjabi and Hindi are similar in most ways, except for dialect. So in that way, I watched a few.
Do you have any memories? Any particular films?
Khalnayak.
Khalnayak you watched. Okay, that's 93. Yes.
Yeah. Dil,
yeah.
I remember, and my mom was crying. I would cry when Amir would cry, that type of thing. But it wasn't something where I was watching it. I was watching it because we were getting to eat in the living room and eat pizza on the floor. And then sometimes it would be a camp out and fall asleep after we, right there in the living room. It was, not something of the norm, and that was the excitement that was put behind watching a Bollywood film.
So you were allowed to be up till late?
Up till late, eating pizza on the floor, passing out in the living room, set the blankets up like a camping, something that goes on when you're camping. So it was this whole thing that they created, and I guess that was, when they say it out loud, it's good.
So I mean, in that sense, it's like a diaspora experience, right? I mean, that is that connection that Bollywood has with people who live, people of Indian origin or South Asian origin who live across the world. That was really your connection in that sense. Would that be correct to say?
Yeah, that was my connection. Yeah.
Did you at any point in time think when you're watching these movies that you would be in one of them at some point in your life?
No, I was more concerned with, growing up in this typical Punjabi home. And I wasn't allowed to wear a short skirt. And I'd say, she's wearing a short skirt. How come I can't wear a short skirt? And I live in, we were in Canada at that time. I go, and they're in India. I go, how come she's allowed to do it and I'm not allowed to do it? And it was like, chup kar ek thappad. So, I mean, those were the things that were of concern at that age. It wasn't like Bollywood was so a part of our lives that it's not like here where it's in your face, it's everywhere.
Especially Bombay, where you live. Yeah.
Especially here. So it was a weekend thing, or every 2 weeks, or whatever it was that they wanted to do.
Do you notice that about diaspora communities in general? They tend to be even more conservative than the places they came from.
I know. I have a theory on this.
Oh, what is that?
It's like a time warp. So a family will move. I don't know about now. Let's say when my parents moved, is they moved, their first generation Indians in the U.S. or in Canada, and maybe they really miss home. So they take all the philosophies of the Indian culture and time warp it to wherever they are.
So they're probably living in the 70s.
And inside the house, it is exactly how it would be if they were living in India at that time. And the same philosophies of life and culture and everything gets time warped. And they desperately want to continue this tradition there, which is amazing because that's how I grew up.
I mean, they're trying to hold on to something that probably doesn't even exist back from where they come
from. They're creating their own versions of, no, you have to be a proper Indian girl, you have to wear clothes like this, or your hair like this, no gutta, this, that, the other. But that's not what happens here at all.
Yeah.
At all. I'm going to assume that it didn't happen at that time either.
Right. I mean, DDLJ, right? Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge.
Yeah.
This film with Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol, one of the biggest hits ever.
Yeah.
That's really that story, isn't it? There's a father, Amrish Puri, and there's the daughter, Kajol, and she's not allowed to wear lots of things, she's not allowed to go out, and then eventually she falls for Shah Rukh's character, who's just the opposite,
Yeah.
having grown up. Have you met Katrina Kaif, by the way? Because that's another example of someone who is British, actually, not even Indian in that sense, and made a mark here, and made a whole life in the same way that you have.
Yeah, I've not met her like in
In
a
a
proper
social-
in a proper setting. no.
Yeah. What about Priyanka Chopra? Because that's the reverse story, isn't it?
Yeah, Priyanka
For someone
Chopra-
who
I
moved
have
from
met
here
her and spent
to the
time with
US
her.
and set up a whole
Yeah.
life there.
Yeah, it's amazing what she's done. I have spent time with her.
And did you exchange notes on what is it for her to move from here to there? Which
You
is the
know,
opposite that
when
you've
two
done?
people meet,
Yeah.
you don't sit and go, so
That's what you do in
Tell
an interview,
me.
yeah.
tell me, what was your transition like? So that conversation not happening. Right now, the conversations happen about children, or I just went and saw her premiere Citadel. But that's not the conversation that's happening.